Welcome into my Week 4 college football pick'em. This is part of the ongoing ESPN's college football pick'em game. I just offer my breakdown of 10 of the biggest games each week in college football. Week 3 recap, we posted a 7-3 record here. We are 19-11 on the year overall, so it has not been a bad year at all. So let's hope to improve on that record and keep it going here. So the first matchup is number 17 Baylor versus Iowa State. This one is a noon kickoff and it can be seen on ESPN2. My thoughts about the Baylor Bears. Baylor has faced a difficult road test once again this season when they head to Ames. They did have to travel to Provo to take on BYU in that was week 2. So Baylor is not unfamiliar with traveling on the road. I think that this Baylor team is going to play to their strengths, as I've said before when I've previewed them in the past. This line of scrimmage is where this Baylor team excels. Their physicality up front will have to be a key on both sides of the ball, getting pressure from the defensive line and protecting their quarterback and establishing a run game from the offensive line will be key to a Bears victory. Taking a look now at the Cyclones, they're off to their first 3-0 start for the first time since 2012. This offense for the Cyclones is averaging 31.7 points per game. However, they do have a lot of youth on the offensive side of the ball. If this Cyclones team can move the ball, they can control the time of possession, they will have success against Baylor. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, Baylor has a 52.8% chance to win this game. And my pick, I'm going to go with the Iowa State Cyclones. I think that they will get the win at home. This could be pretty damning for Baylor, but I think it'll be a big win for Iowa State and Matt Campbell in that program. Next game on the docket, number 5 Clemson versus number 21 Wake Forest. This one is also a noon kick and it can be seen on ABC. This will be Clemson's first test of the season so far. The Tigers have taken care of business so far, but they have not faced an exactly difficult test yet. They played, I believe, Georgia State, Furman, and Louisiana Tech. They've shown the ability, they can run the ball very well, and defensively the Tigers have been able to stop the run. They've allowed just 71 rushing yards per game. Still some concerns remain for some about DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback. Some believe that he's just not showing enough, or not showing what they'd like to see at this point in his progression. Taking a look on the other side of the field at Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons have also taken care of business so far. On offense, the Demon Deacons have struggled in the run game, averaging just 3.6 yards per carry, but with quarterback Sam Hartman back in the lineup, they have excelled moving the ball through the air down the field. Last week, though, the Demon Deacons did have a narrow escape over Liberty. They needed every second of that one to get that one done. And that could be a factor in, how this Wake Forest team responds to a team that in Clemson is very talented on both sides of the ball and has a lot of highly touted prospects on there. An advantage that Wake Forest does have, they have a lot of experience on this roster. They have 39 players who are currently in their 5th, 6th, or 7th years. So that could definitely play to their strength, as well as having this game at home will help out the Demon Deacons. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, Clemson has a 78.9% chance to win this game. I am going to take Clemson to get this win over Wake Forest. I think this is a good Wake Forest team, but as people have said, Clemson remains the measuring stick in the ACC, and I just don't think Wake Forest is up to it. Duke versus Kansas. Yes, we're talking about a Duke-Kansas football game with some intrigue. This one would be a great matchup on the hardwood, but this one is going to be played on the gridiron. This is a noon kickoff, and it can be seen on Fox Sports 1. Duke is off to their first 3-0 start since 2018. The Blue Devils offense has been strong in the run game, and quarterback Riley Leonard has played well in addition to that. On defense, Duke is allowing just 14.3 points per game, which includes a shutout win in their season opener. Kansas has won more games so far this season than the last 2 seasons combined. The Jayhawks offense is averaging 53 points per game, and quarterback Jalen Daniels is playing incredibly well, and he is the FBS leader in QBR currently. Defensively, Kansas is allowing 27.3 points per game, and they have found themselves in some shootouts so far this season. Both of these offenses have shown an ability to put up points, and I think it will come down to a shootout, and eventually, this might sound dumb, but who can score more? I don't know how much defense is going to play a factor in this game. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, Kansas has a 72.7% chance to win, And I'm going to take the Jayhawks to win this one. I think that they're a dynamic offense. They've shown that they can score in bunches, and I think that they're going to take it to Duke, and I think this will be a big win for Kansas. And I can't even tell you the last time the Jayhawks have started 4-0 to start the season. And this is one of the big games of the week. College game day is going to be on hand for this one. It's number 20 Florida versus number 11 Tennessee. This is a 3:30 kickoff, and it can be seen on CBS. Talking about Florida here, Florida has they've been through some swings so far this season. They started out unranked and got the big win at home in the Swamp over Utah, and then the following week they stumble at home against Kentucky. So this team has been all over the map. We've seen some highs from Florida, we've seen some lows. So we're not sure. It's hard to tell what team you're going to get on Saturdays. Quarterback Anthony Richardson has struggled so far this season. He is one of only a very few number of quarterbacks so far this year who have thrown for 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Florida's running game has been their strength. They are averaging over 200 yards per game. This Gators defense will have their hands full against a dynamic Tennessee offense, but Florida has a lot of talent in their secondary, so they do match up well in certain spots, but it will be a challenge nonetheless. Taking a look at the Volunteers, Tennessee has been dominant to start their season on offense especially. The Volunteers are currently averaging 52 points per game, and that ranks 6th in the nation. College game day, as I mentioned, will be on hand, and that's just going to add to the anticipation and excitement around Knoxville. I'm told that this is a rivalry game. This used to be a rivalry game. It doesn't have that same hype nationally as some of the other big rivalry games, but this was definitely a big one once upon a time, and it will be a big one this weekend. Taking a look at ESPN's Football Power Index, Tennessee has an 87.4% chance to win this one. I believe last I checked they were about 10.5-point favorites, the Volunteers were. I'm going to take Tennessee to get the win against the Florida Gators. I think this will be a good game, but I think Tennessee's offense is just going to be too much for Florida, and I think they'll be overwhelming. Switching gears now to Minnesota versus Michigan State, some Big Ten action. This one is a 3:30 game and can be seen on the Big Ten Network. Minnesota is currently the best team in the Big Ten West. The Golden Gophers' rushing attack has been dominant. They are averaging 300 yards per game, and they are putting up 49.7 points per game. On defense, they're just as good. The Gophers are allowing just 5.7 points per game. Now, they haven't played as a high level of competition as they will face on Saturday in Michigan State, but they have been impressive through 3 games regardless. This is a big opportunity for Minnesota to really show the country that they are deserving of national respect, and they could maybe vault themselves into that AP Top 25. Looking at Michigan State, they are coming off a game in which they got punched in the mouth. Washington surprised a lot of people last week with their win over Michigan State. This game will be a test to see how well the Sparty bounces back. Michigan State's run defense is holding opponents to 89.7 yards per game, and therein lies the key matchup. How well will Minnesota be able to move the ball on the ground? Is Michigan State's run defense up to the task of slowing down Mo Ibrahim and this Minnesota rushing attack? If Michigan State can stop the run and control the time of possession, they will have a good chance in this one. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, Michigan State has a 60.8% chance to win. However, I'm going to take the Golden Gophers to get the win on the road. I really like this team, and I like what PJ Fleck is building out there, so I will take Minnesota to get the win on the road. Notre Dame and North Carolina is the next game on the docket. This one is a 3:30 game on ABC. Notre Dame's 2022 is off to a rocky start. Currently, the Fighting Irish are allowing more points per game than they are scoring. And for those who don't know, that is not usually a good thing. Notre Dame is also now without their starting quarterback, and they have moved to backup quarterback Drew Pine. This season has been rough, as we noted. They started ranked number 5. They played pretty well against Ohio State. A lot of people had hope. And then they looked very bad against Marshall at home on top of that. And last week they had to hold on to beat Cal at home. So things have been less than ideal in South Bend, but we'll see if they can turn it around here on the road against UNC. Looking at the Fighting Irish defense, they will need to bring their A game as they go against a North Carolina offense that has been very electric so far this year. Speaking of North Carolina, they are off to a 3-0 start. The Tar Heels offense has put up numbers so far. They are averaging 51.3 points per game and over 540 yards per game. On defense, though, North Carolina cannot stop a nosebleed. They are giving up an average of 37.7 points per game, and they are allowing over 460 yards per game against what has been less formidable competition, frankly. This could be a big opportunity for Notre Dame's offense to really open things up. I just don't know if they have the talent to do so. I think this one could get out of hand. We'll see if Notre Dame can really match up against North Carolina. Drake May, their freshman quarterback at North Carolina, has played really well so far this year. So ESPN's Football Power Index does give Notre Dame a slight lead with a 53.5% chance to win this one. Another point of note, the coaching experience disparity between Marcus Freeman and Mac Brown, it's got to be, decades. It is decades of difference here. So I think that could definitely play in as well. I'm going to take North Carolina to get this win at home in Chapel Hill. I think it should be a good game, but I think that this one will go to the Tar Heels, and they will move on to 4-0. Looking now, it's number 15 Oregon versus Washington State. This one is a 4 p.m. game and can be seen on Fox. After a rough week 1, Oregon has rebounded actually kind of nicely, and not a lot of people might not be paying attention to that, but they should be. Quarterback Bo Nix has played well since the Georgia loss. He has a QBR that currently ranks 15th in the nation, so he's playing well, he's playing efficient, he's avoiding making mistakes, and I think this has been good for him and this whole Oregon team to gain confidence after they got just embarrassed on a national stage against Georgia. Oregon's offensive line has also played well. They allowed 0 sacks against a good BYU defensive line, and that will be key. Offensive line is such a linchpin part of an offense that can really make or break a quarterback's success. So to have a good O-line for Bo Nix, that makes things even better. On the defensive side of the ball, Oregon is allowing just 27.7 points per game, which ranks 85th in the country. So a little less than ideal there. So there is some improvements need to be made potentially on the defensive side, but there is some things to be optimistic about if you're a Ducks fan. Looking at Washington State now, they are off to a 3-0 start that includes an impressive win on the road against Wisconsin. I believe I was looking the other day at how many home losses does Wisconsin have in the last 10 years, not counting this season. And I believe it was less than 15. So that just shows you how hard it is to go into Camp Randall. The Cougars offense has begun the year a little sluggish, but they are gaining their stride with their transfer quarterback Cameron Ward. Last week, Ward threw for 4 touchdowns and some amount of yards. He played well is what I'm trying to get at here. And defensively, they have been even better for Washington State. The Cougars are allowing just 12.7 points per game, and that is top 20 in the country. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, Oregon has a 72.4% chance to win this game, and I like the Ducks to get it done on the road in Pullman. Give me Oregon to win this one. Our next game on the docket is number 10 Arkansas versus number 23 Texas A&M. This one is a neutral site game in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium, aka Jerry's World. This one can be seen on ESPN at 7 p.m. Taking a look at Arkansas, they are off to a great start, and they will have another opportunity to prove themselves this weekend and tell the world that they are a legitimate football team. The Razorbacks are very strong in the run game currently. They are averaging 243.7 yards per game, and that is 10th at best in the nation. Defensively, there are some potential weak spots for the Razorbacks as their secondary has allowed over 350 yards per game, so definitely look for Max Johnson or Haynes King, whoever is going to be out there, to try to exploit that. However, the rushing defense for this Hogs team is the best in the SEC. They are allowing under 70 yards per game rushing. That is impressive. Texas A&M season has started less than ideal. The Aggies offense has struggled to get into gear as they have combined for just 31 points over the last 2 weeks. On defense, A&M is allowing just 8.7 points per game, so the defense is playing well, holding up their end of the bargain, but the offense has struggled to score points and move the ball. The Aggies' run defense has struggled as well, and they are currently ranked 12th in the SEC, so we sort of have a weakness here. Texas A&M's rush defense going up against a strength in Arkansas's rushing attack. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Arkansas tries a similar tactic that Appalachian State used. They just sort of dominate the time of possession. The time of possession, for those who don't know, in the App State-Texas A&M game, App State had that ball for over 40 minutes, and Texas A&M had the ball for less than 20 minutes. So if Arkansas can just hold on to the ball, run it, which I expect they will from a strategy perspective, and just dominate time of possession, move the chains, grind off that clock, then I think this will be successful for Arkansas. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, they give Texas A&M a slight lean, 57.8% chance to win. I think the point spread like Texas A&M. I personally don't like any of those. I'm going to take Arkansas to get the win. I think they're a better team, and I think their strengths play well against A&M's weaknesses. Next game on the docket, it's a primetime game on Fox. It's 8 p.m. kickoff and can be seen on Fox, as I just said. And it's Kansas State versus number 6 Oklahoma. Now you might think, wow, why is this game prime time? But K-State has had some success against the Sooners in recent memory. They have actually won 2 out of the last 3 and have really become a thorn in the side of Sooners fans for several years now. Now, last week, K-State did have a disappointing loss to Tulane, but they should be eager to bounce back against what is a very talented Oklahoma team. This Wildcats offense has been driven by their rushing attack, which has been a common theme for a lot of teams this week. Kansas State's rushing game is currently averaging 239.3 yards per game, which ranks 12th in the nation. The defense for the Wildcats has held opponents to under 10 points per game on average. Oklahoma has taken care of business so far as well. The Sooners have also been able to run the ball well. They are averaging 235 yards per game on the ground. In addition, the Sooners are averaging 265.7 yards per game through the air, so they have been able to do both their rushing game and their passing game well. Credit to Jeff Lebby for stepping in as offensive coordinator and, heading up a powerful offense. On defense, the Sooners are holding opponents to 10 points a game, and they lead the Big 12 in sacks. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, Oklahoma has an 84.3% chance to win this. Now, we've talked about Kansas State's rushing attack, but their passing attack is not great. Adrian Martinez, I believe, is the transfer quarterback there. Let me double check this really quick. Yes, Adrian Martinez is the quarterback there, transfer from Nebraska. He has not played great. He has not been, beating people with his arm. So I think that one-dimensional nature of Kansas State's offense could put the Wildcats in some trouble. And Oklahoma's defensive front, leading the conference in sacks, their ability to create pressure and plug up those holes could potentially make throwing the ball difficult. And we'll have to see how the Oklahoma's front seven does against the run defense. That will be a key matchup as well. But I'm going to take Oklahoma to win this one. I think that they're just more talented, and I think that they are more they're less one-dimensional on offense. And I think when you have a one-dimensional offense kind of like Kansas State, it's going to be hard to get success. And the last game on the docket, it's number 7 USC versus Oregon State. This one is a 9:30 p.m. game on Eastern Time and can be seen on Pac-12 Network. Lincoln Riley has come in and has totally revamped this offense. USC is currently averaging 50.7 points per game and 520 yards per game. Caleb Williams is 4th in the country in QBR. The Trojans are very efficient on the offensive side of the ball. That much is clear. On defense, USC is allowing 19.7 points per game, and they have fed off the big play. Currently, the Trojans have the second most sacks of any team in the whole country. That will definitely be a major factor for this defense going forward. If you can create sacks, that's big plays, that's momentum changers, that's definitely a big-time stat. Looking at the Beavers now, they are off to their best start since 2014. Head coach Jonathan Smith has this program trending in the right direction. If you remember in the Week 1 video, we took a look at Oregon State, Boise State, and I really thought that Oregon State was looking good, and this could potentially be a good team this year, and they are living up to that right now. On offense, the Beavers have played well. They are averaging over 40 points per game, and on defense, the Beavers have been able to force turnovers, which has been key to their success. They also have a good offensive line, so that will, I think, be the pivotal matchup to look for. How well can this USC front seven, which has been able to get sacks, how well will they fare against this offensive line, which is a contender for the Joe Moore Award? How will that matchup play out on the field? I think that should be interesting to watch. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, USC has a 69.4% chance to win this one. I'm going to take USC to win, but I would not be surprised at all if Oregon State covers or if this is a close game going into the fourth quarter. I really like this Oregon State team, but I don't know if I'm confident enough in them to pick them to win outright, so I'm going to take USC to win this one. And that's the end of the video, folks. Thank you all for watching. I want to give a special thanks to ESPN for providing me with all these stats and information, and letting me, just play this game. And I want to make it clear I don't work for ESPN, but they have all this information in terms of efficiency and stats and rankings and all this. I access all that through ESPN. So thank you for letting me access that stuff. Hope to see you here next week for my Week 5 projections. I hope everybody enjoys the college football weekend, and hopefully your team wins. Unless they're playing my team, then I hope they lose. Everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.